Good morning, students. Today we are going to start a new course, and the name is Microcomputer and Interfacing. So, before going to the first chapter, we will see what is the meaning of microcomputer and interfacing. Computer means it is a common operating machine, particular used for trade, education, and research. This is the definition of computers. Micro means a smaller things. So it microcomputer means we are using a computer in a very small form. It means definitely if we are using computer in very small form, then it do not have some functionality of the main computers. So here whatever we microcomputer we are using, that do not have the functionality of display, and some more features do not have, but it's look like a computers. Okay. Interfacing means to connect the another device with our main device. Okay, this is called the interfacing with some protocols. Okay, so this is the complete course overview, means definitions. Now let we start the chapters. In chapter first we have two part. First one is the history and second one is the introduction. So let first we discuss the history. Okay, I have somewhere I have given the name of this as chapter 0 also. Okay, so if we go to the historical background of microprocessor, then we may see here the first generation started in 1971 and it is generated by Intel. The processor name was 4004 and it was 4-bit processor. The clock speed was 108 kilohertz and number of transistor was 2300. Address bus was 12, memory was 4 KB, technology we were using PMOS, and features low cost, low speed. Application was for calculator and traffic light, etc. Okay, so in the first generation, what it's look like, 404 microprocessor, and what are the size of computer, we can see here. So this is the first computers. Okay, so not a single part, all these is a one computers. Okay, so in the previous day when the computer was invented, its size was look like a complete room. Okay, so and the processor was using here, it was 4004. This was the processor name. Okay, so this was the processor name. And if we go to the technology, whatever we are watching here, PMOS, NMOS, HMOS, and HCMOS, let we will be discuss once these technology, what are the meaning of these. So come to here, NMOS circuit offer a speed advantage over PMOS due to smaller junction area. So definitely if we are using NMOS technology instead of PMOS, it have more speed. Okay, but cost is also little bit increased. If we go to HMOS, HMOS means high metal oxide semiconductor, and it's used for static RAM application. Okay, further the speed are increased here. Okay, HCMOS also stand for high density CMOS. Okay, so again it's a little bit complex technology and more costly, but speed increasing here. Okay, in this technology speed are increasing. Okay, even in the first generation, the next processor was like here 8008. It have 8-bit. Clock speed also increase, number of transistor increase, address bus increase, memory increase, because that was the starting time of microprocessor. So everything was increasing slowly. So in the next generation, this was the processor available. Okay, now if we go to the second generation is started here in 1982, and obviously by the Intel company. The processor name was 80186. Again number of bit increase, number of clock frequency increase, number of transistor increase, address bus increase, memory also increase, and technology also changed. Okay, and based on this one the application also changed. Okay, we were using in higher applications. So if we go to the second generation, it was the processor in the second generation 80186. It's look like that. Okay, now if we go to the third generation, in third generation again the number of bits increase, the clock frequency increase, number of transistor increase, address bus increase, memory increase, technology also changed. Now it comes to HMOS, high density CMOS. Okay, so this was in the third generation and it was looking like that, 80386. Okay, third generation started in 1985. Okay, after that the fourth generation is started, and in the fourth generation the processor name was 80486. Okay, 80486, as you are watching here. So it was the look of processor. And after that fourth generation, the company feel that to give the number of processor, it is a little bit complex task and a common man cannot understand, because they are thinking they were thinking that they will make the computer for common man also, so it is a difficult task to remember these numbers. So after that Pentium do a revolutions, and Pentium changed the name of its all processor, upcoming processors. Okay, so the first processor they introduced with fifth generation in 1993, and the name was Pentium. Okay, so Pentium first invented in 1993. So if we go to the Pentium overview, said it was the fifth generation and by the Intel company, and number of bit was 32 bits. Okay, clock frequency it's increased up to 60 megahertz, number of transistor 3.1 million. Okay, data bus 64, address bus 34, and here they were using cache memory also. Okay, internal and external. Okay, we will be discuss little bit later that what is the benefit of cache. Okay, cache memory. So this was about to fifth generation. Now after that in 1995 the new processor came with Pentium Pro, and this was the sixth generation of the Pentium processor. Okay, so it's look like that. Okay, and after that in the sixth generation even one more processor came with the name of Pentium 2. Okay, so this was the internal inner structure of the microprocessor, if you will see this one. So after that Pentium 3 also came under the sixth generation. Okay, and in the seventh generation they give the new name Pentium 4. It was started on year 2000. Okay, so Pentium 4 was looking like that one. Okay, and if you go to here Pentium 4, it have number of bit 32, clock speed is 1.5 gigahertz. It means when the computer was invented, the clock frequency was 108 kilohertz, and now in the seventh generation the frequency is 1.5 gigahertz. Okay, and number of transistors, if you will see, it is 42 million. It is a huge amount of transistor. Okay, so data bus is 64, address bus 36, and again the cache memory is 64 GB plus 32 KL1. These are the cache memory. Okay, we are discussing here the second one is the cache memory, first one is the main memory, hard disk memory. Okay, so the cache was also increasing. Okay, slowly, and after that they give a new series, and eighth generation. In the eighth generation they invented the new series, and the name was Core. It started with Core. Okay, so Core i3, i5 and i7. Okay, in the eighth generation. Even in more generations like 9, 10th, 11, they have the same type of name like Core. So that's why they started from here, this Core generation, from the eighth generation. Okay, Core i3, i5, i7. So we will be discuss that what is the difference in these Core i3, i5, i7 and i9. Okay, in the ninth generation again they are giving the name to processor i5, i7, i9, and the capability are increasing. Like i9 is more capable than i7, i7 is more capable than i5. We will be see just later. Okay, Now in the 10th generation, again they have given the name i3, i5, i7, i9. Okay, as the generation are going to be increased, so many features are going to be changed, like the frequency are going to be changed, and battery backup, all these things, so many things are internally are going to be changed. Okay, so but nowadays, in last year 2000s, they released the 11th generation of the processor. Okay, and in 11th generation we have i3, i5, i7, and even i9 also. I am not showing here i9, but i9 is also available here. Okay, so let's see what is the difference between i3, i5, i7 and i9. What is the exact meaning of these? Okay, when you try to purchase laptops and with the same generation, suppose like 11th generation or like 10th generation, you want to purchase i3, i5, i9, i7. For the same generation, the cost of the processor is different for all. Okay, why the cost is different? Because the internal structures and the benefit and the implementation of the devices inside the processor is different. Okay, so architecture is different, the processing speed is different, clock frequency is different. That's why the cost is increasing as the number is increasing. Okay, i3 have less cost as compared to i5, i5 have less cost as compared to i7 and i9, like that. So let me see what is the meaning of this core. Okay, so come to here this table. If we go to the core is nothing, it is a parallel processing unit, means parallel processor. So if you will watch here in i3, there is two core, it means there are two parallel processor. In core i5 there is four core, it means four parallel processor. In core i7 again four parallel processor. Core i9 I did not write here, but it's have six parallel processor. Core i9 have six number of core, six. Okay, so let you can see here, a core is a single processing unit. Multiple core processor have multiple processing unit. A 6 core 3 gigahertz processor have 6 processing unit, each with a clock speed of 6 gigahertz. It means number of core means number of parallel processor. Okay, now come to the clock frequency. You may see that the clock frequency is increasing as the number of core is also increasing, and they are giving some variable. Previously it was not available. Before core, when the Pentium and the another processor was there, like here in the Pentium and all these processors, the frequency was fixed, clock frequency was fixed, like here. Okay, 1.5 gigahertz in 7th generation of Pentium 4. Okay, so but here nowadays the frequency they are putting the variable frequency. Okay, what is the meaning of this? Let first we see what is the meaning of frequency. So frequency equals to 1 upon time. If we are increasing the frequency, it means the time is reducing. What time is reducing? The execution time of instruction is reducing. It means more frequency means less time to execute the instruction. Less time is more fast system. It means more frequency, more fast system. Is it clear? Now come to hyper-threading. Okay, so hyper-threading means it's a Intel term of simultaneous multi-threading, and it's better for task scheduling approach. This is a process where a CPU split each of its physical core into virtual core, which are known as threads. So means one task is distributed in so many tasks, and these called the threads. Okay, increase the size of the core by 5%, performance boost by 30%. If any processor have capability of hyper threading, then you can see the core size automatically, virtual core size, it's not physical, virtual core size increase 5%, and the performance of the overall performance of the processor is increased 30%. So it means if you want to purchase a very good processor, a laptop with very good processor, then you have to go these features. Okay, hyper threading. Now next is turbo boost. What is the meaning of turbo boost? Let in a very common way I try to make easy. Make it easy. Intel Turbo Boost technology is a very way to automatically run the processor core faster than the marked frequency. What is the meaning of this? Suppose the load comes, a very small task came, then it's work on the minimal frequency. If the load is more, there is a higher complex task, then automatically it switch to the higher frequency. Higher frequency means automatically it's do more work and try to execute more fastly of these instructions of the instruction set. Okay, and a common example if I will give to you for turbo boost, like if your car is climbing on the mountains and you are on up slope, so it means the driver is pressing more accelerator to boost the car, okay, because there is more load that time. But when you are on the down slope, then driver do not press the accelerator. The same thing are here. If load is increasing, then the automatically the processor increase the frequency, it switch to the higher frequency. Okay, so this is the meaning of turbo boost. Okay, so if you are trying to purchase a laptop and you have very heavy work, very heavy software and very heavy programming, then definitely you have to go to this option. Okay, turbo boost. Now cache memory, as you know, a CPU cache reduce the average cost to access data from the main memory. A cache is smaller, faster memory located closer to the processor core, which store copies of the data from frequently used main memory location. Let again I explain it in an easy way. Suppose you are opening first time a website in your laptop. Okay, it will take little bit time. It maybe take 10 seconds. But if you are opening second time the same website, then it will not take the 10 seconds. It will take only 5 seconds or less than 5 seconds, because the address is stored in the cache memory, and cache memory is very near to the processor. So that's why it's give more accessibility to the processor very fastly. Okay, so that's why if we have good cache and more cache, then it's do the task very fast. Okay, because it's temporarily store the data. Okay, so in this way the historical background of the microprocessor is complete, and this was the first part of the chapter first, so it's complete. Thank you students, thanks a lot.